explosion in growth in terms of programs, though, whether it be aged care, childcare. As worthy as many of those projects and programs are, the NDIS, they're not productivity enhancing programs, are they? So it's almost like a vicious circle. The government's spending more, but not in productivity driving areas.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's a real challenge, and you point that out really clearly, Kieran. The things that are driving growth in government spending are largely government programs that are incredibly important to the nation. You know, defence spending is a big part of this, aged care, things like the National Disability Insurance Scheme. So that tells us this is not an easy problem to solve. Of course, that's the case. But the government is doing the hard yards here. We've made a lot of progress on budget repair, but look at the fantastic work that Mark Butler is doing, working with the states to try to bring down those cost increases at NDIS, which I believe from memory was running at 22% a year growth when we came to office, and that's come right down. This is not a problem that can be fixed overnight, but I hope you see the Treasurer has done a fantastic job at making some real inroads here, and we all see there's more work to do.
Is the capital gains tax discount, the talk around that, is that a revenue grab from the government?
Well, we haven't changed our tax policies in relation to housing or other areas, Kieran. Our tax policy is to give a tax cut to every single taxpayer who's watching right now. They're going to get another tax cut this year and yet again another one next year. And with housing, our big focus is supply. We've got a chronic 40-year-old housing challenge facing the country, and we have a housing challenge because we have a housing shortage. Now, our government's...
And that could actually damage supply, couldn't it, if you change that incentive on capital gains tax?
Our big focus is on supply because that's where the problem is. So we've got a $45 billion investment going into largely building more homes for Australians. We've got a really dedicated effort to trying to address this housing challenge because it's falling so unfairly on younger Australians and on working and middle income people. So a big challenge for our government is focusing on housing, and of course we'll be talking about that more as we come into budget.
And just before we move on from that capital gains tax question, could that damage supply if you did move on that?
Well, Kieran, we haven't changed our policy, and there's nothing on the table about, for me to comment on at the moment. We haven't changed our tax policy. We haven't changed our housing policy. Our big focus is on building more homes, because if we build more homes, housing becomes more affordable for all Australians, and we're making good progress.
How many houses have been built now in terms of, right across the board from your progress?
Yeah, so I think we've built about 570,000 homes across the country since we came to government. We've got a big part of our agenda, which is actually the government rolling up its sleeves and building homes itself in a way that the Commonwealth hasn't done since the post-war period. So that's a commitment to build 55,000 homes over 5 years. 5,000 of those homes are complete and 25,000 are in planning or construction.
But is that in a way one of the risks here, that you might crowd out other private sector investment, but also provide demand on tradies, materials and so on as well, and in itself become inflation?
Yeah, look, you make a really good point, Kieran, and one of the things that's made housing such a complex problem for the country is there's lots of different factors engaging in creating what's been a really serious challenge. The government's response to that is to try to fix all of these issues, and it's very difficult, but skills is a big part of our agenda. So we're making sure that we get more skills trades through our migration system and also train more young people up in the construction skills that they need. So really think about, we're building more homes, we're getting renters a better deal, and we're getting more Australians into home ownership. And we've got a whole suite of policies that support these things. But I will tell you, this is a big challenge facing the country. We've made a lot of strides since we were elected in 2022, but more work to do.
One of the issues that voters are angry about is migration, the numbers of people coming into Australia. Pauline Hanson is benefiting from that. In fact, One Nation, according to recent polls, leads when it comes to that issue of immigration. And part of it is the housing question, because people are saying, why are we bringing more people in when we can't even house and young people can't get into the market now? They're inextricably linked, those two issues, aren't they?
Well, migration's a piece of the puzzle. It's certainly not the whole story.
But politically, it's a potent issue, isn't it?
Well, we know it's not the whole story because in COVID, we actually saw our population decline for the first time in 70 years, and house prices absolutely went through the roof. So these things are not linear, but migration's a part of the puzzle. So what do we need to do? We need to bring migration down and back to its historic normal, and we need to build more homes as a country, and our government is doing exactly those two things.
And is there, in terms of the political realignment, is this a permanent shift you think we're seeing here? And can Labor potentially lose votes as well to One Nation, which is even floating the idea of forming government now?
Yeah, I read that this morning and absolutely turned my stomach to see that One Nation, which was quite rightly a pariah of, politics. Pauline Hanson's made a career out of sowing division and distrust and hatred between Australians, openly mocking people's most important spiritual beliefs. And yet here she is being regarded as a mainstream political force. And my view is the Liberals and the Nationals have got a lot to answer for here. This is a direct result of their disunity and complete disarray and the contempt with which they're treating Australian voters as they come to Canberra each week and spend their time not thinking about their constituents, but about each other and ambitions and careerism. So, my view is that we've got to get the Conservative side of politics to sort this out. Otherwise, we are going to see One Nation continue to grow.
Clare O'Neil, thanks, Minister for Housing. Appreciate it.
Great. Thanks so much, Kieran.